This corporation covertly controls the entire world. There are immensely powerful corporations out there, and you've undoubtedly heard of a few of them, such as ABC, Apple, and Koch Industries. But there's a chance you've never heard of Blackrock. In this video, let's discover how this New York City-based worldwide investment management business rules the world. This corporation was created in 1988 and has grown to be widely regarded as the company that virtually owns the entire planet in just over 30 years, managing $10 trillion in assets. So who is Blackrock, and how did a risk management firm become the world's largest asset holder, possibly holding millions of ordinary people's funds? Blackrock Incorporated, headquartered in New York City, is an American international investment management firm. It began as a risk management and institutional fixed income asset manager. It eventually grew to the point that it now has 70 branches in 30 countries and 100 clients throughout the world. So what exactly is the plot? Larry Fink, the chairman and CEO of Blackrock, created the company in 1988. They must have struck a bargain with the devil along with a few others, including Robert Escopedo, Susan Wagner, Barbara Novick, Ben Golub, Hugh Frater, and Ralph Schlossstein, because this firm was lucrative within months and the group's assets had tripled to $2.7 billion by the following year. In 1992, the corporation changed its name to Blackrock. In the same year, the company was handling $17 billion in assets, which had grown to $53 billion by the end of the year. To say the least, Blackrock's growth was rapid. Blackrock would grow organically and through acquisitions throughout the years. By 2004, Blackrock had amassed $325 billion in assets under management as a result of its acquisitions. It wasn't quite as ludicrous as it is now, but it was big enough for the US government to hire Blackrock to help with the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. Blackrock would become the world's leading asset manager by 2009. Blackrock is greater than China's industrial and commercial bank, which is the world's largest bank. It's been called the specter haunting Wall Street for years, but most people are still baffled by it, which hasn't stopped it from receiving a decent amount of criticism. After all, you can't get as big as Blackrock without rubbing a few people the wrong way. They've been chastised for their property's environmental impact. Blackrock is among the top 3 shareholders in nearly every major oil business, and it is among the top 10 shareholders in 7 of the top 10 coal companies. These would be harsh criticisms, but Blackrock tries to counter them, even going so far as to invest extensively in environmental protection and sustainability. That's correct. Even valid criticisms aren't enough to stop this behemoth from growing. And when I say behemoth, I really mean it. Blackrock is in charge of assets totaling several trillion dollars. It manages about 10% of all global financial assets, but its reach extends far beyond stock and bond purchases and holdings. Central banks, financial ministries, and large investors such as state funds, pension funds, and insurance firms seek advice from Blackrock. They also use their vast financial resources to invest in businesses all across the world. There isn't much in the financial markets that Blackrock isn't connected to in some way. Blackrock controls large ownership in firms on nearly every continent, whether it's building cars in Germany, mining for iron ore in South America, or gold mining in Africa. So how do they manage it all? The financial sector is constantly evolving. What worked a few years ago will almost likely not work now. Blackrock is well aware of the situation, so they went ahead and created Aladdin, a very strong software platform to assist them in dealing with these shifting tides. Aladdin's responsibility is to do risk analysis for Blackrock's clients. It gathers sensitive data from major institutions such as banks and insurance firms and analyzes it for high-stakes risk. People pay enormous sums of money to Blackrock. Aladdin is a network with 5,000 computers. Its job is to continuously monitor millions of deals and assess their clients' portfolios. going over every imaginable situation and pinpointing what could go wrong with unnerving precision, providing extremely precise levels of risk analysis. This program is extremely common. It's essentially become the brains behind some of the world's largest investment firms, yet I'm guessing you've never heard of it. Aladdin, on the other hand, does much more for BlackRock than merely risk assessments. This software gives them access to sensitive data from major institutions around the world, including banks, pension funds, and insurance firms. Essentially, they will have insight into the management of over $20 trillion in assets, in addition to the massive $10 trillion in assets that BlackRock already has overseas. BlackRock enjoys a comfortable position in the global economy thanks to its access to such riches and information. It owns shares and has voting rights in many of Europe's largest corporations, including those in the energy, oil and gas, transportation, and food industries. You know, the kind of things that allow society to work. Believe me when I say that BlackRock's hold over society is far stronger than you may imagine. It owns bonds that represent governmental debt. It manages a large number of people's pension funds and wields political clout, serving as consultant to entire administrations on a regular basis. BlackRock is hired by central banks to audit and advise ordinary banks on management issues. You're in a league of your own when an organization that oversees a country's entire financial machinery has you on quick dial. The irony is that, due to their size, BlackRock is frequently a large stakeholder in these same banks. They are to audit and advise the central banks. This means that during these meetings, BlackRock is literally sitting on both sides of the table, advising the government on how to manage the banks they already own. Even if that wasn't the case, BlackRock now has even more access to privileged and highly sensitive information, which will only serve to enrich them even more. So who was the driving force behind the creation of this behemoth, and how wealthy must he be now? Larry Fink, a millionaire, is the guy to thank, or blame, for the formation of BlackRock. Fink has always been known for wanting more than he has and for knowing the markets inside and out, which is a potent mix to say the least. Ironically, he would only become the founder of such a phenomenally successful company after his employers had suffered a massive $100 million loss. Fink began his career on Wall Street at the age of 23, working on bond structuring and trading. He quickly rose through the ranks and became something of a legend within a decade, helping to develop the debt securitization market, which revolutionized how loans were handled on Wall Street, for better or worse. Not only did Larry Fink design one of the key tools that contributed to the economic catastrophe, but he was also the person the US Treasury recruited to clean it up. He had a reputation as a true investing wizard, and at the age of 31, he became Boston's youngest managing director ever, contributing to the addition of $1 billion in assets to their bottom line. Larry was a golden goose for all intents and purposes until he wasn't anymore. Larry's company would lose $100 million and he would become a toxic asset overnight. He was ostracized and fired from a company where he had worked for 12 years and made a tremendous amount of money. Doesn't this sound like the ideal villain origin story? He would eventually help found BlackRock and help it grow into the behemoth that it is today, albeit with a few bumps along the way. But one thing is certain, Larry Fink has bounced back. He's worth more than $1 billion. So, despite managing several trillion dollars in assets and having a hand in the financial decision-making of the US government, we're still not done talking about how powerful BlackRock is. For starters, they are far more involved with a few really well-known companies and projects than the majority of the people understand. BlackRock owns a significant chunk of Apple's stock, giving them access to the company's large smartphone and tablet market share. They also own stock in Microsoft, another tech behemoth, demonstrating to everyone that if you have enough money, you don't need to design a single semiconductor to control the industry. BlackRock also has large stakes in pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson because they know exactly where to put their money. Imagine not investing in things that humans need to survive. As I previously stated, some of BlackRock's largest holdings are in large oil companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron. BlackRock has also invested in a number of significant initiatives. Its footprint has grown in the areas of sustainable investing, environmental, social, and corporate governance. Basically, they've spent a lot of money attempting to go green while also looking beautiful. BlackRock has used its enormous clout to call attention to environmental and diversity issues by sending letters to CEOs and investing in projects like the Carbon Disclosure Project. According to reports, BlackRock has been lobbying the US government to develop legislation mandating private corporations to publicly disclose their climate effect, while concurrently financially backing companies that aren't doing any of those things. They tout the diversity of their boards of directors and other measures. BlackRock is, once again, seated on both sides of the table. But they can't help themselves. They're simply that strong. So, have you ever heard of the company that covertly governs the world? Do you believe there is a company that can compete with BlackRock? Leave us a comment. If you liked and enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more insightful videos, get notified by clicking the bell button below. From the high-end stories of today, this has been Modern Luxury. As always, we look forward to seeing you again in one of our videos. Thanks for watching.